Shalom, 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 Shabbat shalom, Shabbat tov. Welcome everyone to the one of the best shows with Rabbi and Joseph. And I would like to invite everyone for this conversation. It's been a long time, Rabbi, that we didn't meet and talk. And I know it was a heartbreaking events happened in October 7th, and it's still continuing. And I'm really taken off with that one, so I couldn't even post any postings in the FB or in YouTube. So that's what we are going to kind of discuss with that today's. So how have you been, Rabbi?
Baruch Dayan HaEmet u'Baruch Hashem Yom Yom b'chol matzav. God is worthy of praise in every situation. I think it's very important that we remember that the unchanging perfection of our Creator is unaffected, not detracted nor added to by anything that happens in this world. Nothing in this world affects the immutable, the unchanging perfection of our God. We cannot say that these atrocities, these wicked acts, we cannot say that they are wicked without an absolute standard of good. So those who would say that how could there be a God if such evil things happen? Well, how can you say it's evil without there being a God to determine what is right and wrong? Same with the Holocaust. It's easy to understand how people can be frustrated and sad. I feel the sadness as well. No doubt. I was basically, hate to say it, but I was basically paralyzed with sadness to some extent these last 2 weeks. Getting better currently. But my point is that without free will, we're nothing but robots. Without free will, we cannot truly show love, voluntary love. And the cost of free will is that there is the capability, there is the potential for people to do the most atrocious acts imaginable. And certainly that's what we've seen at the beginning of this month. We saw acts that are more atrocious, more grotesque and vile, more perverse than even things that the Nazis did. Yeah, the Nazis, it's hard to compete with the evils of the Nazis in scale. In scale, meaning as far as the extent of the evil, the extent of the murders, it doesn't come close to the Holocaust of the Nazis. But as far as perversity and shamelessness, they exceeded the Nazis, who at least tried to cover up their evils for quite a while. And for all we know, it was not something that they filmed relishing in sadistic sexual perversities with old women, young women, and even babies and boys. This went far beyond the grotesqueness and perversion of the Nazis. It's just at a smaller scale, thank God. But the only way we can make sure that it remains at a smaller scale is if we respond to it appropriately, not by rolling over on our backs and saying, oh, if you come and slaughter us, we're just going to say, please don't slaughter us again while our backs are lifted, while our necks are lifted up toward them, ready to be slain. That is the behavior of a mentally ill individual or someone who wants to be slaughtered. And we have to remember that when the world tells us, ceasefire, constrain yourself, show restraint toward murderers. No, thank you. Sorry for the little tangent. It's hard to control your words when faced with something like that. It's disgusting.
Um, yeah, I totally agree. I'm so sorry. The pain that you go through, it's not easy taken, and it's really I don't know. I mean, what to say? There's no words to express the pain, the heart. It's too bad. It's too bad. The atrocities are too worst. Um, unimaginable. As I said, that there's no words. Yeah. So
There
actually,
there are
mhm.
things that they don't even hardly speak about in the news, not even necessarily because they're trying to hide it, but because there are things that are so gross that they're afraid it will negatively impact their viewership, or there's a standard of there's sort of a code of journalism and public broadcasting. You can't show certain things on TV. In a similar way, there are things that are almost unspeakable that happen, things that are unspeakable.
There are a lot of misinformation, a lot of disinformation there, and which is not true. And as usual in a wartime, it happens always. People give a lot of misinformation to get the sympathy or empathy or whatever they're trying to achieve their goals. Yeah, it is very hard to find these things, but as you know that as a overall, it is totally, totally. It's a shame to humanity, like what's happening right now. It's a big shame.
It's a desecration of God's name that they claim to represent. It's a perversion of God's name and of religion. Like, you
Hmm.
you claim to represent Allah and do these kinds of acts in the name of Allah. They need to understand, and all those who support them and sympathize with them, that they are supporting and sympathizing and encouraging blasphemy of the name of Allah. They are blaspheming the reputation of God in this world. Yeah, they are not Jews, but they claim to take upon themselves the reputation of the God of Israel. So yeah, they don't affect God in the reality as he is, but they definitely mar God's name in this world, meaning they give God a bad name in the eyes and the ears and the minds of the masses. They give God a bad name. They give God a bad name among less devout people in the West, secular people in the West, and they give a bad name for God even among people in the Islamic world. Of course, when you live in a world where there's no freedom of speech and you say something, the wrong thing, you might be killed, then a Muslim can't speak out exactly what they think because they don't want to die. But I assure you, there are plenty of Muslims in the Muslim world who are disgusted by this, but there's very few of them who are willing to stick their necks out and show their faces while expressing their disgust. Any decent human being would be disgusted by this. Any decent human being.
Yeah,
If you're not disgusted by this behavior, you're not worthy of living. You're not worthy of living if you're not disgusted by this. It's disgusting.
yeah, yes, I know. Yeah. So, Rabbi, so let's kind of a little bit. I know that this has been there for years and years. I know that Jewish people go through a lot of painful history. Whether they're in the inside the country or outside the country, there is always something against them, like all the time. So these Palestinians and the Hamas, I know that you know more than me. So what is that aim? I mean, like, what is the intention? Intention is to eradicate the Jewish people or to take the whole land. They're interested in taking the land piece or the human piece. Like what they're trying to do.
I'm happy you asked this. I think right off the bat you've touched on perhaps the key element both of their deception and their evil. Both the deception and the evil. And Western governments and other governments, including India, including China, they need to wake up from their naivety. They need to wake up from their gullibility. They're gullible. They're being deceived. The biggest strength that the terrorist organizations that operate under the name Palestine or Palestinian liberation or resistance, their greatest deception is in presenting themselves as simply an innocent, poor victim, indigenous victim, meaning they present themselves as an indigenous population, the local native population of a certain land that has been suffering unjust occupation of a foreign entity. And they portray the Jewish people, the people of Israel, as being the foreigners who are oppressing them. And all they are doing, they are like innocent little David who's just trying to defend himself against the Philistines. They portray themselves this way. They also give themselves away in that same analogy. King David against the Philistines. And that's exactly what's going on here, but the roles are reversed. Their greatest deception is in acting like it's just a land dispute. Among themselves, they openly express that it's not a land dispute. Openly. In Arabic language, when they speak to Jews online, but then when they come on TV in tuxedos after washing the blood of raped babies from their faces and hands, then they come on with a tie and act all professional and say, oh, the Israelis have been killing us and driving us out of our land and we're just resisting. Okay. First thing I want the world to recognize, good-hearted individuals in the West and in the East, wherever you are. First thing first, Israel giving a little more land is not going to make peace. We already gave them Gaza in 2005. The people of Israel, our government, I did not agree with this, but the government of Israel ethnically cleansed. Palestinians always like to act like they're the victims of ethnic cleansing. The only victims of ethnic cleansing in this whole story are the Jewish people. International pressure, both from Arabs and the West, even the United States, pressed the Jewish people, our government rather, to ethnically cleanse ourselves from Gaza for the sake of peace. Right? The same way they still pressure us with embargoes and sanctions to ethnically cleanse ourselves from Judea and Samaria, what they deceptively call the West Bank. They want to ethnically. What does ethnically cleanse mean? It means to eradicate a certain ethnicity from an area. And it's usually used specifically in reference to removing the indigenous, the original native population from an area. Well, Jews get their name Jewish from the fact that they originate from Judea. Judea is the earlier name of the region that they like to call West Bank. Okay, same thing with the term Israel, the people of Israel. We are called the people of Israel because we are from the land of Israel that they so called as Palestine. Don't forget this concept. Land for peace will not help. They don't want Gaza. They don't want the West Bank. They never said that they want the West Bank and Gaza. All along they have said that they want the entirety of it. So unless you also, in supporting them, unless you also want to destroy the entire nation of Israel, you can forget about the idea of giving land for peace. You can forget about the idea of the Jewish people giving them a little more land in order to gain peace. It's not going to work unless that's what the Palestinians themselves also want, but it's not. You might be able to find one or two Palestinians here or there who like this idea of just having the West Bank to themselves. You are a fool and extremely uninformed if you think that this is what the establishment of the Palestinian people want. A simple way to prove this, don't take my word for it. Simple way to prove this. Look up pretty much any of the mainstream Palestinian organizations on the internet. Look them up and look at their emblem, their symbol, their motto, their logo. In all of these logos, you're not going to see the shape of the map of the West Bank, Judea, which is the heartland of the Jewish people. You're not going to see that. You're not going to see the shape of Gaza. You're going to see the shape of the entirety of the land of Israel. They consistently put this in all their logos, in all their emblems. That is what they want, and they don't hide it. They don't hide it. That is why they have rejected all of the many proposals that Israel has made as offers of peace.